All right, so we introduced the fact that we're talking about searching. For now, we're going to focus on searching an array. So imagine we have this array with states in it, which I didn't type this myself, just to be clear, I copied this. And so it also includes, I think there's 59 items. It includes territories like American Samoa, Puerto Rico's in here, Guam, things like that. But that's beside the point. So imagine that a user types something in and they're trying to, create an address, and they need to enter a state or territory. And for our application, we want to make sure it's in this array. What's the best way of doing that? And the simplest way is just to look at every single element in order and check if it's what we want, right? So if the user enters, let's say, Indiana, we would just start at the beginning and check, okay, is this Indiana? Nope. Is this Indiana? Is this Indiana? Is this Indiana? And we keep going until we get to Indiana. And in that case, we return something, true, or we say the index that we found it at. Or if it's not in there, we keep going until the end. And then we have some logic at the end that says if it's not found, return false or return -1 or something like that. Now that approach is actually not a bad approach. Now in this situation where we have sorted data, alphabetically sorted, there are better ways. But let's go back to, I think I had a list called usernames. This is unsorted. So there is no order to this at all. Now somebody enters, I hate cats as their username. How do we check if it's taken or not? In that case, the best way of doing it is to check every single element one at a time. Are you, I hate cats? No. Next. Are you, I hate cats? Nope. Keep going until we find it or we get to the end. Now that is called linear search. And in fact, JavaScript is doing that. Things like index of, which we talked about, includes find index. All of these methods are doing the same thing behind the scenes. They're checking every element one at a time to check if whatever we pass in, so let's do index of. Let's do usernames.index of Tommy, index of 0. Let's do index of Q, which is towards the end, 15. We do index of something that's not in there, -1. We could also do the same thing with includes. I'm not going to go through all these methods, but let's try, does it include Tom? That's true. Does it include Toms? That's false. So what's happening here is that it is going through and checking each item to see, are you Toms? Are you Toms? Over and over until it hits the end. And if you looked at the source code, you would actually see the algorithm that we're going to talk about. And it's very straightforward. It's called linear search. So we've already been describing it. We visit one item at a time, starting at the beginning, moving forward, or we could start at the end and move backward. But it doesn't matter. All that matters is that we're moving at a set interval, one item at a time, checking every single thing. So if we were to have this list of numbers, this array, and we want to check for 12, we want to search if it's in there. We just start at the beginning. Is 5 12? Nope. Is 8 12? No. 1 is not 12. 100 is not 12. 12 is 12. And then we return true, or we return the index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It depends on what we're doing. So for index of, for example, it would return 4. For includes, it returns true. So that's linear search. And what I'm going to do now is something that is a bit different than how we've structured the course so far. I'm going to give you pseudocode to try and implement it. And I encourage you to write this code on your own. This is a nice and simple one. Here's the pseudocode. And then afterwards, we'll go through it and I'll write up the solution. So write a function, call it whatever you want, but it accepts an array and a value. So call it linear search, and it takes an array full of, let's just say it's numbers, but it doesn't matter really. Let's say it's numbers and then a value, another number. You just loop through the entire array and check if the current array element is equal to the value that we pass in. And if it is, return the index at which it's found. And if it's never found, return -1. Okay? So loop through the entire array, check for a value, whatever it is. Let's say we're looking for 3. If you find 3, return that index. If you don't, return -1. So this is possible in just a couple lines. Don't overthink it. Give it a shot. In the next video, I'll show you a potential solution. And keep in mind that even though this is simple, that doesn't make it bad. Like we discussed, it's used by built-in functions, things like index of, for example. Okay, see you in the next video.